Cultural appropriation refers to the adoption, use, or exploitation of elements of one culture by members of another culture, often without proper understanding, respect, or acknowledgement of the cultural significance or context. While cultural exchange and borrowing are common phenomena in human societies, cultural appropriation becomes problematic when it involves power imbalances, exploitation, or disrespect towards marginalized or oppressed communities. Here's an overview of the significance of cultural appropriation and its effects on marginalized communities. Diminished cultural integrity. Cultural appropriation can result in the commodification or trivialization of cultural elements, stripping them of their original meaning, significance, or context. When cultural practices, symbols, or artifacts are taken out of their cultural context and commodified for profit or entertainment, they may lose their authenticity and cultural integrity, undermining the identity and heritage of the originating community. Reinforcement of stereotypes and misrepresentations. Cultural appropriation can reinforce stereotypes, caricatures, or misrepresentations of marginalized cultures, perpetuating harmful stereotypes and misconceptions. When elements of a culture are appropriated and misrepresented by outsiders, it can contribute to the exoticization, fetishization, or dehumanization of the originating community, reinforcing power dynamics and inequalities. Economic exploitation and inequities. Cultural appropriation can perpetuate economic inequalities and exploitation by allowing dominant groups to profit from the cultural heritage of marginalized communities without equitable compensation or recognition. When cultural products, styles, or expressions are appropriated and commercialized by dominant cultural industries, it often marginalizes the creators or originators of those cultural elements, depriving them of economic opportunities and agency. Erosion of cultural sovereignty. Cultural appropriation can erode the cultural sovereignty and self-determination of marginalized communities by appropriating and commodifying their cultural heritage without their consent or input. When outsiders appropriate and commercialize aspects of a culture, it can undermine the autonomy and authority of the originating community to control and protect their own cultural heritage, leading to feelings of disempowerment and cultural erasure. Impact on identity and self-esteem. Cultural appropriation can have a negative impact on the identity and self-esteem of individuals from marginalized communities, particularly when their cultural heritage is appropriated, caricatured, or misrepresented by outsiders. When cultural elements are appropriated and used without regard for their cultural significance or history, it can contribute to feelings of marginalization, invisibility, or cultural alienation among members of the originating community. Call for cultural sensitivity and respect. Critics of cultural appropriation argue for greater cultural sensitivity, respect, and accountability in the adoption and use of cultural elements. They emphasize the importance of understanding the cultural context and significance of cultural practices, symbols, and artifacts, as well as seeking consent, collaboration, and fair compensation when engaging with cultural heritage from marginalized communities. Promotion of cultural exchange and appreciation. While cultural appropriation is widely criticized for its negative effects, proponents of cultural exchange argue that respectful and equitable forms of cultural exchange can promote mutual understanding, appreciation, and solidarity among diverse communities. They emphasize the importance of fostering dialogue, collaboration, and reciprocity in cross-cultural interactions, while recognizing and respecting the rights and dignity of all cultural groups involved. In summary, cultural appropriation is a complex and contentious issue that raises questions about power, representation, and respect in intercultural interactions. Its effects on marginalized communities can range from the erosion of cultural integrity and sovereignty to the reinforcement of stereotypes and economic exploitation. Addressing cultural appropriation requires sensitivity, accountability, and a commitment to promoting cultural exchange and appreciation while respecting the rights and dignity of all cultural groups involved.